Alright, run into a couple technical difficulties, mainly operator error. That's me. Best thing I could recommend is start at the highest point of a log and work your way down. Just kind of whittle it down. So that'll prevent any issues of upper clearance on your saw opening. The other thing I will recommend, and as you see that I've had to do, is you'll see a 2x4 that I have put beside these vertical post uprights. Now I've put that 2x4 in place, and I got the friction clamp and the screw clamp in place on the other side. I have put that in place for offset, because one thing I have noticed that this sawmill does not take into account any kind of radius. If I can make a recommendation, just purely by what I've seen, and again, I don't claim to be a sawyer. Timbery, if you're watching, you might want to consider, if you don't already have them on the market, making some kind of offset clamp. The other thing I would probably recommend, instead of having a square opening, make your opening angled. Allow a wider cutting surface. That might make things a little bit easier for you. Also, if you plan to get into cutting things, sawmills is like an evolution. I started with an Alaskan sawmill and a beam cutter. Most people do. And you wind up with what you have here. Basically, you're looking at the end of the evolution. Because when you try to cut a beam in 103-degree index heat, and you have your safety gear on, folks, I'm going to tell you, that sun climbs up on your back and it don't get off. So what we're going to do is go ahead, and I'm going to shut up and quit my ramble, and we're going to go ahead and get this thing done. Notice that this thing has a very nice grain structure in the light. Stand this up so you can kind of get an idea and a visual on it, folks. That's a pretty good looking piece of lumber. I don't care what anyone tells you. And when you look at the baseboard here, that is still a very good looking piece of lumber right there. You can hardly get #1 lumber in the stores anymore. If you do, it's pretty much craftsman specific. #2 lumber is generally where you get the bulk of, and it's full of knots. These pressure treated posts are all #2. Right here that this log bunk is anchored to. And that's what you're going to get a lot of, #2 lumber. This 2x4 is #2 lumber, is pressure treated. But sanding, bumping this thing down, folks, this is going to be a fine looking piece of detail for our little home. So we're going to cut us another small little piece out of this, or another length out of this, should I say. So we got some material to work with. And then we're going to ask you to stick around, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with it. So we're going to cut us another piece here. I always jack the saw blade up before I move it back over what I cut. Purely because I'm still getting used to this. The other thing I do is make sure I have good blade tension going on with this saw. Kind of cut it a little bit thinner section out. Not much thinner though. And folks, I must say that I am very pleased with the quality we have right here. You know, frankly speaking, I could probably take this canch alone and make a beautiful table. Just, you know, cut it up, piece it together, do some decent joinery. Solid. Very solid. I know one of the common questions is probably going to be, okay, we got an idea how thick that thing can cut there, Jay. How thin can it cut? Well, you saw some veneer that we already cut. I'll tell you what we're about to do. We're going to try to cut a few sections of thin veneer, and we're going to see what this thing can do. Walk it through its paces. That way, if you want to put some nice decoration into your home, you could. So what we're going to do here is we're going to skib this thing a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and looks like it's kind of sitting on an angle. So we're going to do a preliminary cut and then a secondary cut. All right, folks. I could probably make it thinner than that if I wanted to, but that'll give you a pretty good idea as far as making a nice thin cut. What I could probably do. I'll tell you what, let's try it. Let's see how thin we can make it. How about that? Like I need to check my blade tension because my blade worked loose. Well, you can see what we have here. Nice and thin. And we definitely got what we intended to get. But you need to keep an eye on that blade tension because I haven't seen a tension in the lock. Because obviously it works itself loose because of vibratory effect. I might need to put a second nut on this thing. Go to the hardware store and put a backup nut on there so it can't back off. I might wind up doing that, kind of doing a little bit of hybrid engineering. But like I said, you can see we did manage to shave down that other piece and cut a nice piece of veneer even thinner. So I say we are about 1/8 of an inch right on the money. And so far we're quite pleased with the cutting. We are more than pleased with the quality of the product and the wood we have to use. All right, so you see what we got here. Got a couple decent little beams here. future projects. Again, you see I'm still using my 2x4 to center it in the middle and make things work. Very solid beams. Good quality wood. You'd wind up paying a pretty penny for that in a big box store. See about getting some good work done, having some fun, maybe go through some of the other workings of the sawmill. We'll meet you downrange.